Hello, and welcome to Amplifying the Voices of African Researchers, a podcast series by the Climate and Development Knowledge Network Africa, where we spotlight emerging science evidence, highlight local knowledge, and amplify African-led research shaping climate action across the continent. This early career fellowship is supported by the International Development Research Center and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. Thanks for making our podcast part of your routine. I'm your host, Herein, and in each episode, we sit down with experts, especially early career researchers, who are shaping Africa's climate future through groundbreaking and policy-relevant research. Let's explore how environmental conditions cause the symphony of Orthoptera and what that means for biodiversity, behavior, and adaptation. Today, we are going to be blown away by how climatic conditions actually affect the mating behaviors of certain species. And we'll hear from our guests today, Simeu. Can you hear us? Welcome to the African Early Career Researchers podcast session. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for
Great.
inviting me.
Yes. We can't wait to hear what you have to tell us about all of these calling sounds and mating behaviors. So, Sima, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we delve into your research?
Okay, of course. I am Dr. Simeu Noutchom Alain from the University of Yaoundé 1, Cameroon. I am a researcher. I am working on Orthoptera species in Cameroon.
Great. So tell us what you have for us today.
We're talking about my research entitled Effect of Climatic Variable on Orthoptera acoustic activities. I will explore how temperature, humidity, and rainfall influence the acoustic communication of Orthoptera insect species like grasshopper, cricket.
Okay, great. And where did you conduct this research? Which country and area?
Yes, I'm conducting this research in Cameroon, particularly on West region.
That's amazing. So tell us, what are the objectives? What research methodology did you use for these acoustic measures?
The main objective of this research is to understand how different climatic factors affect the calling behavior of Orthoptera species and how these vary with season altitudinal, and to use acoustic monitoring to help track biodiversity change potentially caused by climate variability. And I use Swift One devices to record the song in the field.
So could you briefly let us know how does climate change affect all of these biodiversity behavior and adaptation? Does climate change affect it in any way?
Climate affects Orthoptera species. Orthoptera species produce song, and many of time this song depend on the weather, the temperature, for example, the humidity and the rainfall. And we know that when the temperature, there's a certain optimal of temperature which Orthoptera species produce song. 30 optimal temperature like 33, 30, 35 degree. That temperature is the best. I can say that an optimum for their species to produce song. And when like today climate, we have a shift in temperature, we have climate which is changing, it can affect their behavior, their calling.
Why is acoustic communication particularly important for Orthoptera during reproductive periods?
Okay. En réalité, la communication chez les insectes est importante dans la reproduction parce que les mâles, particulièrement les mâles, produisent des sons pour attirer, n'est-ce pas, les femelles pendant les saisons de reproduction. Et plus, n'est-ce pas, les mâles crient, ça attire plus de femelles. Et plus, n'est-ce pas, le son est très élevé, il y a une façon, en fait, il y a les femelles qui ont une forte préférence aux mâles qui ont une capacité de production de son très élevée, ce qui les attire et augmente les chances, n'est-ce pas, de se reproduire.
Thanks for letting us know this. So, for our Anglophone listeners, Dr. Simeu is trying to tell us the reason why acoustic communication is important, particularly in productive period, is because during reproductive periods, these insects or these species rely heavily on sound. So when the male makes a sound, it attracts the female. So basically, acoustic communication is particularly important for Orthoptera during reproductive periods because it is essential for mate attraction and species recognition. I hope I got that right, Dr. Simeu.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great. Way. So now, how long did it take for you to study these acoustic communications and to also let us know what the result of these projects was?
Okay. I've been studying insect for 5 years, but I've started recognize the first of all species, and during my PhD, I study the diversity of Orthoptera species, and then as a postdoctoral researcher, I am focusing of their sound, recording sound to identify species and to understand their behavior relating to climate, because you know that the calling song activities is even to identify them in the field, we have to recognize their call, and their call is very important to understand their behavior and so on.
Yes. So now, can you tell us what was the result of all this research? What were your findings?
Yes, I have found many things about song. I have noticed that the temperature affect their calling. For example, and when the temperature, as I've already said, when the temperature is reach the optimum, which is about uh, 30 or 32 or 35 degree, and they amplify singing. But when there is, for example, rainfall or the humidity is very low, that impact their calling. Then they don't they don't produce that song to try to attract female. That's it's very low. When the temperature is very low, the humidity is very low. They don't make very a huge song to attract female, and then that can impact their reproductivity.
That's quite interesting, how human activities, particularly caused by climate change, our activities impacts the species of insects. Did you find any challenge during your research?
Of course, there is always challenges. Recording data is very fascinating, but to analyze those data is you have many data around to hear, to listen carefully, and that is time consuming. It's not easy at all. Even to set up material in the field is not always easy. It's not.
Okay. So, is there what facts did you find apart from finding out that a rise in temperature or a drop in temperature actually affects the rate of reproduction amongst these insects? Is there anything that you came up with? Do you have any solution for that?
For the moment, our research is ongoing, and I hope that mid of by the mid of 2026, by June 2026, we'll have the final result to explain more how what we can deal with many issues on that problem.
That's good to know. Do you have any words for any policymaker when it comes to that? What what does it mean for humans or for the environment when there is a drop of reproduction amongst these species? Does it mean anything to us? Is it a threat or we can live without these insects? Tell us something that we should take notice of.
For policymaker, integrating acoustic monitoring in biodiversity conservation is essential. Researchers should embrace interdisciplinary method combining ecology, climate science, and technology. The public should appreciate the subtle but critical role insects play in ecosystem and support effort to mitigate climate change. Insects are very important. I think even that we cannot live without insect. Insect play many role in our environment. We know that many species even contribute for pollination of plant. Uh, the many species are edible. Many species even contribute for the fertilization of soil. That's make them very important, and I think that we cannot live without the species.
Thanks for making us understand the importance of insects in our biodiversity, in our environment. And you've rightly said they are directly connected to our food chain, which is more like our survival. Yeah, yes. And during your research, did you notice if these insects have reduced? What was the population? Has the population drastically reduced as a result of climate change, or have they multiplied? Tell us something on the population of insects prior to your studies.
Some insect species are reducing. I can also set that other species are increasing, like pest species. When the temperature becoming high, is like some pest species are increasing. At the same time, with some species which is very specific to certain condition, they are drastically reduced.
Could you share with us certain names of these species that increase to high temperatures and those that decrease due to the rising temperatures?
Yes, we have species like by starting by those insects decrease with the temperature. We have like one species that I myself I have describing, which name is Brachytropes. There is Brachytropes. I have also other species like Macrocitus coconui, which I described. This is very impacted with climate change. But in other hand, we have some species that can increase with climate change, with temperature, like we have Zonoceros variegatus. We also have like there's some other species like which kind of species? Pygomorpha vignodi, for example. Pygomorpha vignodi. Yes, those kind of species or autotherous species that can increase with temperature.
So these species that you've mentioned, what are they commonly known as? Are they grasshoppers? Are they crickets? Are they wasps? Are they bees? What kind of insects? What are the common names of these insects that you've mentioned so far?
Okay, like Macrocitus coconui is a cricket, what we call a cactidid. Cactidid. Species like Brachytropes barbaensis is a cricket, and Pygomorpha vignodi is a grasshopper. It's a grasshopper.
And what methodology did you use on the field?
Yes, as I already said, right now I am using acoustic methodology, which is I'm using switch one devices. Some told that register recorder song to their insect, and when I go to the field, I just settle the tool and place them in the forest, in the field, and place them in the field, and and they record song automatically without the presence of a human being. They record. It is an autonomous devices safe to record song. And earlier with my PhD, I use a pitfall method to collect some of them, which is a small hole. When I put a small hole to collect those species moving on the ground. But right now, I am using Sweep One devices to collect species, which is more useful. It is more useful because it take into account the preservation of the biodiversity.
So, Simeu, could you share with us one fact from your research that the ordinary person does not know? Tell us something that lay people do not know, as you are an expert.
Surely there are many things that, for my personal research, I hope that many things are not clear for everyone. You know that recording species with acoustic with Swift one method with Swift one tool is new even in Cameroon. People they don't usually use those kind of tool to register song of Autotera species. Even in the world, that methodology is very new because traditional method we used to collect species with sweet net, even to evaluate the population of Autoptera species. They usually use sweet net, which is a traditional method. But with this new method, new tool to register some, for many person, for many researcher is new, and many researcher would like to understand how those kind of tool work. I believe that mm, is special. It's very special, and many person doesn't know about that methodology. Hello.
Great. Good to hear that. And did you find any, if you want to compare these two methodologies, the SweepNet and the acoustic, which one is better? You looking at the benefits as well as the challenges. In your opinion, can you share with us the comparison of this new acoustic measure as well as the traditional SweepNet method?
Yes, of course. This new methodology is a very it's a great advantage to traditional method. You know, traditional method, for example, when you go to the field, you are obliged to collect species before going to the labs and analyze them, and you have an obligation to take species in the field. Whereas acoustic methodology, we don't have to collect species in the field. You don't have to collect species in the field and then just register the song and identify by the song, because it is very known that every species make a particular song. That's very special. Before, with traditional method, you used to collect species and go to the lab and identify them. We have to preserve in the field, which is not even good for conservation, because most of the time we have to maybe to kill some species before we kill some species, which is not the same thing with acoustic method. Acoustic method is very, very better than traditional method.
Okay. So, Simo, do you have any last words for us? Any conclusion?
It is a great opportunity for inviting me to explain what I am doing. It is a pleasure to discuss with you about my research. I am a early career researcher. There are many things that still to be done, and I hope that I will achieve all my aim.
You will, and we wish you the very best. So we just had Dr. Simeu Noutchom from Cameroon, who has just explored with us the environmental conditions that sculpts the symphony of Autoptera and what that means for biodiversity behavior. Temperature, humidity, and wind aren't just background noise. They are active players in the performance. A few degrees can shift or alter the chirp rate, the calling, the frequency, and even the timing of calls, potentially confusing mates or misfiring species cues. In warming world, what happens is that the soundtrack of the survival starts to skip. And as we heard from Simeu, a drop in temperature for some species means that their population is going to reduce. And we've heard of the roles of insects in our ecosystem. Next time, we are hoping that you learned so much from us. And that has been Simeu from Cameroon, who just made us understand the importance and the effect of climatic conditions on the reproductive periods of insects. Until next time, keep being the change that you have to. Bye.
Thank you.
This podcast is part of the CDKN Africa Fellowship, working to elevate African voices in climate science, policy, and practice. Until next time, think locally led research, publish widely, and let Africa's researchers' voice echo in every local and global climate conversation.